Hail to the king, baby.
Hey guys, what is going on? It's me. It's Michael B, and it's Monday. You know what that means. It's time for another episode of Chill and Chat with Michael B. I had to look down and make sure my microphone was working. Sometimes this shit don't work like it's supposed to work. Anyways, I do have a pretty fun show planned out for tonight. Well, at least I think it'll be pretty fun. There's not a lot of home arcade news going on right now. I mean, we're in the calm before the storm. Arcade 1UP have dropped stuff. We're still waiting for some details, pre-orders to open back up for Iconic Arcade and to get a definitive shipping date. Basic Fun, we're wondering where the heck they are. It sounds like, Unico's got something cooking, but they're a ways off. We're still waiting on pre-orders from New Wave Toys. So we're in a bit of a slowdown period in the home arcade scene. So I wanted to take an opportunity tonight to do more of an old school chill and chat, where instead of talking about the news, I really talk about something that's going on in the overall sphere of home arcade and kind of tell you guys my feelings about it and where I think it's going, or where I think that the company should pay attention to if they want to stay in business. Just my opinion. Anyways, guys, before we get started, I want to say hello to the people that are here in the chat. Lots of cool people I saw already earlier. Steve V's Man Cave Arcade, my Canadian buddy. If you've never checked him out before, Steve V does a lot of Arcade 1UP, home arcade content. Go check him out. Bono's Tecmo is here. JJ, our home arcade's becoming too expensive. Hell yes. I think a lot of people feel the same way. John Fritz says, my budget this year, ouch. Stupid Fat Hobbit, great comment here. I don't think many of us would have survived this hobby had these prices been around in 2018. Word. Fast forward to today, and it's more about having options over choosing whatever they throw at us. Jason, the best moderator in the business, Little Alien, says, well said. Jason S., he's only here. He only cares about the opportunity to get his hands on a Double Dragon arcade in the near future. Calvin Wong is here. B. Kirby's here. B, how the hell are you, man? Thank you so much for joining us here in the chat. I appreciate it. Excuse me. Ronald Lawrence is here. Thanks for the stream tonight. Sent a couple messages. You say appreciate it. I appreciate you guys being here. I mean, that's why we really do this. Like, if you guys didn't show up and hang out with me on Monday nights, I'd probably be watching wrestling or Monday Night Football right now. So there it is. Dane Bramage is here. Good to see you as always, my man. Chit for brains. You want cheap peasant cabs from Walmart? Oh, God, no. Novasonic Michael M. Michael M. He actually got a chance to meet Shaq the other day. All these YouTubers have their shows during football. Patrick will be mad at you. Well, that's the price we pay. MSU Rich is here. Hey, Michael B. Good to see you, my man. Joe Cade. Michael with the fist pumps. I appreciate it. Dan in St. Louis. Good to see you, my man. Stock Jock. Love the shirt. One of my favorite 80s bands. Hey, Stock Jock. What has 9 arms and sucks? Love that line. I love Def Leppard, actually. Krypton's Last Son says, hello, Mr. Two Pins. Hello to you, Krypton's Last Son. Retro Arcade Trooper. Hey, what's happening? Mike and chat. Striker Cage, definitely too expensive, but would rather pay for machines that are good quality than a bunch of cheap ones. Anyone going to Cleveland Gaming Classic in 2 weeks? There absolutely is. A lot of people from the Arcades Anonymous crew are going to be heading out to Cleveland, having an awesome time. Also, 19K Fox might make an appearance. I would love to go, but unfortunately, to keep my wife happy right now, I won't be traveling to the U.S. for any time soon. Instead, I'm going to meet up with Nostalgia. We're going to watch wrestling in Toronto. We're going to see AEW All Out. I'm pretty excited about it, but I am concerned. I think I'm cursed. This is the first live wrestling pay-per-view I've gone to see since WrestleMania 27. And let's just say the AEW All Out card isn't shaping up so great so far. Ooh, there's that cough again. Also, for those of you wondering about quitting smoking, when I get back from this trip where I've got a work trip and then I've got the wrestling pay-per-view, we are quitting when I get back. Mark it in the books. It's going to happen. Quitting smoking again. We got the real Zim here. I had a deep thought this morning. Does the real Zim drive a muscle car because he has muscles? Sometimes these things just go through my brain. Chris Ford is cool, and he's here. Fourth Horseman's here. Good to see you, Fourth Horseman. G.I. Joel shipped his first unit out, and it looks amazing. Yeah, the James Hates Everything video. Excellent job from James. Obviously, the cab looks incredible. I was going to kick up a stinker first about the 19-inch horizontal monitor because it's so different than the rest of your 3/4 cabs. But seeing Donkey Kong in vertical mode on the horizontal monitor, 19 inches makes a big difference. Steve Sales here, the ringer. Good to see you, Steve. Steve was unruly yet again in golf last night, started a bunch of trouble, got Goofy Foot to make comments about me having an Audi belly button that could be turned into a Sunday. It was horrible. Retro Arcade Trooper, if I haven't said you already. JR, hey everyone, good to see you, JR. Who else we got here? Want to make sure I don't miss anybody. I know, quit. Stringer Films, congratulations, man. I am jealous. Today is 11 weeks without a cigarette for him. Hopefully I can get back there, man. I went 2 years before. Got to do it again. Hey, Gabriel Gray's here. Hey, Mikey, I quit smoking using Champex. It was a hard one. 2.4 packs a day, smoker for almost 20 years. Been a non-smoker ever since March 2021. We had a lot of luck with the Nicorette patches, so I'm hoping I can jump back into that and hope it actually works this time. Hopefully me and my wife don't get any stupid ideas. I know, Shotgun Sean. Sean, it is so good to see you. Yeah, I can't wait to quit smoking again. This is horrible at this point. Making my daughter sad. Can't be doing it. Oh, it's always an excuse, Michael. Do what I do after sex. Smoke a turkey. MG, I will. I will. Mr. Clutch is here. Time to kick off the shoes, relax the socks. Oh, my favorite thing when I get home. Like, I hate wearing socks. As soon as I get home from doing anything, shoes and socks come directly off my feet. James Hates Everything's here. Good to see you, my man. Who else we got? P-Dubs Arcade Loft. Beers are going to win tonight. Light them up. It's funny. I was going to ask Carl to actually join me on the show tonight. However, for some reason, I guess something terrible happened yesterday. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. Maybe there was a bad football game. I don't really know. Cornercade's here. He says, beer down, video game Vegas. Good to see you, my man. And I think we are all caught up with the chat. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. So on top of this is just for P-Dubs, also to help me with my voice so I don't need to get a lozenge. I've got my very loud water bottle that should piss P-Dubs off, but yeah, there you go. You hope the beers, what is it? Was it the Milwaukee beers from Basketball? One of my favorite movies of all time. Movie was a shit show because the guys didn't think South Park was actually going to get picked up at the time. So they had to make the movie, like star in it, write it, all that shit at the exact same time. They were still doing, I think it was South Park season 2 or season 3. So there you go. Satan Spirits is here. No, I talked to her about that tonight. Scarlett's not coming in. I suck on a fisherman's friend when my throat is sore. Look him up. I don't think he means the lozenge. Stupid Fat Hobbit's here. Good to see you as well. Sathius, good to see you. That's a really good idea, Video Game Vegas. That's a hell of a good idea. Anyways, guys, so I wanted to start tonight's chat off with something actually a little bit serious. Go Vikings. There you go. Take that, P-dubs. So a little bit more serious. An epidemic has broke out in the home arcade community. I'm sure you've seen it on a lot of content creator streams over the course of the last little while. This epidemic is in fact called Super Chat goals. You will notice I have no Super Chat goals set up tonight. Now, I am doing this because I have heard the lashback. I've heard people talking about the Super Chat goals. They don't like them for whatever reason. I don't know, but they don't want to see Super Chat goals. In fact, some people are very mad about it. So because of this, I have decided that I will no longer be doing my second cup Super Chat goals. Unfortunately, guys, I know it was fun. I know you like supporting me, but the second cup, unfortunately, has to go away. You know me. When people in the community talk really loud, ask me to do something, I obviously buckle and oblige, right? Well, not exactly, because if you know anything about me, when I'm told to do something, I usually respond, especially if it's a lot of people bothering me, I usually respond by doubling down. So that's why tonight I'm in fact going to institute the Super Chat goal double down. And we got our very first Super Chat before I even put the goal up. So even if we don't hit the goal on the screen, I'm going to be counting this one anyways, because my man Stringer Films comes through with his dirty work quote of the day. Here's your $2. Thank you very much, Stringer Films. Greatly appreciated, my man. Anyways, you're probably wondering what the goal is for tonight. I'm going to be doing the actual Super Chat goal just a second. I should have had this ready, but I was busy. That video took a long time to make, actually, believe it or not. But anyways, the Super Chat goal for tonight, obviously our main topic is talking about our video games, too expensive, but I'm going to talk about another one that a lot of people have been asking for us to kind of cover. And this is, in fact, doubling down on this because at the same time, people have been asking for me not to talk about it anymore. So tonight's Super Chat goal is for the double down. Should you be worried about your iconic arcade pre-orders? A lot of people claim John D is in fact on a beach somewhere with all your money. These cabs are never coming out. Let's actually take a realistic look at it. Talk about not just the iconic arcade pre-orders, but all pre-orders. And should you guys be concerned right now? Sorry for being a shit, guys. I can't help myself. All right. So, anyways, I'll put the Super Chat goal up. Entertain yourselves while I do this. Yeesh. All the colors. We're going to set a timer for 45 minutes. Should have had this done. I know. Turn off the show. Turn off the show. You won't get awesome production value like this anywhere else. Trust me. Only Michael B to set up this joke will screw this up. So anyways, the goal is now live. Quick, change the channel. Is that an IBM keyboard? No, it's not an IBM keyboard. Chaotic, it is so good to see you, my man. I saw you on Open Fridge earlier. That's excellent. That damn beach. He spent it all on cigarettes. I knew it. He was on a beach with our money. That's right. So anyways, guys, you don't have to do anything. I understand that not everybody likes the Super Chat goal stuff. And if you don't support it. And if it really bothers you, I understand not watching. But the truth of the matter is anybody can say whatever they want about it, whether you put ads in your videos, whether you do a Super Chat goal, yada, yada, yada. These are tools that YouTube are putting out there. They want us to use them. We use them in hopes that it'll help our videos hit that algorithm and more people will watch. So I'm sorry, I'm going to use the tools that YouTube provide me. If you don't like it, again, complain to YouTube. They're the ones that instituted it. They obviously think people aren't making enough money for them, so that's why they're doing it. So we get our second. So we're now currently, let me just bring this up here. Second super chat from Stringer Films. Order some 9 milligrams ALP pouches, tropical fruit flavors. I will think about it, my man. Thank you very much for the super chat. That's 2. So now we are 8 away from hitting the double down. All right. So let's get to the main topic. I'm going to be honest with you guys tonight. This is mostly going to be a verbal show. There's not going to be a lot of assets, other things like that going in. But what I do want to focus on is our home arcade prices getting too high. This is something I've talked about a couple times in the last little while, whether it be on my own show or whether it be on Super Game Room Dudes. So I want to start off by taking you all the way. Oh, we got another super chat. We're now at number 3. I'm holding out for the double triple. James Hates Everything, $2 super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. It might not have updated Nova Sonic, but I'm counting them myself. So thank you very much, James. Greatly appreciated. Nova Sonic says all prices for everything are too high, but let's go back to the real discussion here. I'm sure if you've been collecting, buying home arcade products as long as I have right from the very start, you know that the prices have spiked crazily over the course of the last couple years. When most of us started this out, someone made a joke about the peasant cabs in the comments earlier, but that wasn't a joke. I mean, that was what we originally got from Arcade 1-Up. Then, of course, they did hear some feedback that people wanted some more things. So then we got cabs that were included with risers. Then we got cabs that were included with light up marquees. And we hit what I like to call the sweet spot for Arcade 1-Up. If you look at Arcade 1-Up, when it was in its prime, that sweet spot was $399 US. A new cab would come out. A US person would drop $399. A Canadian person would drop, I think it's like $579 with the exchange rate at the time. And at that time, you had yourself a brand new arcade. It wasn't exactly inexpensive, but for some reason, we could kind of justify it back then. And we kept adding these things and building these stupid arcades in our basement. So I will ask you to put a 1 in the chat. Do you guys remember buying these arcades? And I'm not talking about the original Peasantcades, the original Arcade 1-Ups when they first had the light up marquees and risers included for $399 US. Also gives me a chance to have a sip of coffee. Oh, Stringer Films, that's not nice. See, here it comes right now. There's Goofy Foot. He's convinced I have an Audi. I've got to send him a picture of my innie. Thumper Squid with a 1. Video Game Vegas with a 1. Stock Jock with a 1. John Fritz with a 1. Chat jumped ahead. Jason S. JJ. Dean Bramage. AWOL 101. Believe NBA Jam was $4.99. I'm not sure about that. I think NBA Jam was still $3.99, Stringer. I remember it being $5.99 or $6.29 here in Canada. So the truth is, a lot of us got into this because the cabs were relatively inexpensive, coming in at $400. Now, when I say relatively inexpensive, I mean, let's be realistic here. At the same time, it was the same price as buying like a Nintendo Switch, an Xbox One, or a PlayStation 4. So even though it was relatively inexpensive comparative, it was still pretty fucking expensive. Can you imagine buying not one, but two, and maybe even multiple Nintendo Switches per month? That's what some of us were doing back in the day with Arcade One Up. Star Wars was 4.99. That that is correct. That was an expensive one. Star Wars was one of the expensive ones. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's when things started to change. We really got a taste of what a special Arcade One Up could be when they released Star Wars. That was one of the first cabs that had that light up marquee that also had that unique shape. Star Wars was a special purchase. At that time, I think I paid $649 for Star Wars, and I said, "This is a once in a lifetime purchase. It's not something I'm going to do every day. It's a very special cab, has more features than the other cab. I definitely want this." But then, as we all know, of course, things change. Now, you got to remember when most of us were buying these cabs for $3.99, we were dropping $3.99 on Burger Time direct from Arcade One Up, even though it was delayed for like a year. We were buying Star Wars for $4.99, and then a new flock of cabs came out. We were buying those for $3.99, like Golden Axe, a couple others. During this time, we were, of course, in the height of the pandemic. So we were all stuck home. There were restrictions. You couldn't go out. The truth is, we just had more expendable income because we weren't spending money going out to restaurants. We weren't spending monies going to vacations, going to dinners, going to movie theaters, bars, other things outside. We were kind of stuck in our house and we were looking to add to our at home experience. So I've talked about it a bunch of times before. It was a perfect storm for Arcade One Up. They had this new product that seemed really cool. We could build arcades in our home, and it was kind of inexpensive. Plus, people had extra money. So, of course, a lot of people started building these home arcades in their basements. It's funny. My voice was completely fine until I started doing this show. I think it's a curse. Goofy Foot bought them before COVID. I had two or three before COVID. Four. I had four before COVID. So I had bought Street Fighter 2, the first Street Fighter 2 when that first came out. The next Arcade One Up I bought was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then I ended up also getting Mortal Kombat 2 and Final Fight. Then the pandemic hit, and then I started buying more and more and more. You nailed it, Michael. We all had disposable income coupled with being on lockdown. Perfect combination for success for Arcade One Up. So here's where it gets interesting, though, because during that time, during the pandemic, during COVID, whatever you want to call it, while it was a great time for us, we had more expendable income. We had all this other stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of things changed during that time. There were issues with shipping. And during that point, the shipping containers got like stupid expensive for companies. There was all kinds of problems getting products to China. So for a while, we were doing pretty good. That is until Arcade One Up kind of hit a new high. And that's when they released their Big Blue cab around the same time as that. I had done a couple shows and I had talked about, I heard prices were increasing. So the rumor at the time, and that I actually got from Cool Toy, was that Arcade One Up were going to increase their prices from $3.99 to $4.99 for their standard cabs. Cabs were going to be going up by $100. So I kind of did some streams, told people to prepare for that. And I think a lot of us accepted that as, we're being told that wood's more expensive, chips, there's a chip shortage, shipping's more expensive. We kind of just accepted that and we said, we'll make it do. That's when Arcade One Up absolutely surprised us because they didn't jump up the price by $100. They actually jumped up the price by $200 because that's when the big blue cab was announced and it was going to be $599. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of fucking money. Sorry for swearing there. I agree, Glenn. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. We got to do a little bit of history first. B-Dubs keeps making fun of me because he says the video starts at 35:55. So we'll get there. So anyways, like I remember when that was first announced and I was waiting for the price to be released. And when I saw the price in Canada was $729. Quite a jump up from the $579 I was used to paying for Arcade 1-Ups. And I was like, I'm going to throw up. But this is when Arcade 1-Up started getting really funny and interesting because they knew they had to raise their prices, whether it was to do with all these supposed increases in prices for shipping, wood costs, component parts. But they knew that maybe they were pushing the boundaries of what they could charge for these cabinets. So they started to do add-ins. This is around the time we started getting stools bundled in with our arcades. We started getting tin signs, floor mats, all kinds of other shit, which were easily expendable or easily cheap. The markup on these was higher than what the markup was on the cab. So it was actually cheaper to include something like a stool, which probably cost them $5, than it was to actually try to lower the price to make it more reasonable. So they kept doing these bundles to try to justify the price increases. Now, during this period, prices kept increasing, especially here in Canada, even though at the time the dollar was kind of stable then. And what happened was we started getting cabs that were ludicrous. We started getting cabs like the X-Men 4-player cab, which all of a sudden was $800. We started getting cabs like T2, like Tron. Tron was $800. T2 was $850. And it started getting crazy. Now, around this time that the prices really got jacked up to that point is also the time that, well, the pandemic was kind of over. So at that point, when the pandemic was over, people were thinking less about spending money to improve their at-home entertainment. And they were super excited, not just about getting out, but getting out in doing things they haven't been able to do for some people 6 months, for some people like a year, year and a half. So all of a sudden people were like, cool, I can go on vacation again. Cool, I can go back to having dinner 2-3 times a night. Cool, I can go to the movies again. Cool, I can go to the bars again. And all of a sudden the money started drying up for these arcades that now probably wouldn't have done as well at $399 as they did during the pandemic, but now we're definitely struggling at $749. Geez, I never paid that. I paid $5.99 plus tax at the brick. Same spirits, they had to get back work and not get free money from the government. See, we didn't really get free money for the government here in Canada. I know you guys got stimulus bonuses in the States, and a lot of people made jokes. Dinner 2 or 3 times a week, Bobby ALU. So you got to remember that happened. Now, when that happened, this is when Arcade 1-Up had really flooded the market. The supply had gotten really crazy because they had had a couple good years of success. So retailers were still buying heavily from them. However, what happened was retailers ended up with a bunch of stock on hand and couldn't move it because people, the demand for it wasn't there anymore because of real life circumstances and the increased prices. So what actually happened was a lot of stock got stuck with retailers that they couldn't move. Some people eventually moved it off to Ollie's, or Arcade, did buybacks to Arcade 1-Up. So we don't really know what happened there, but the bottom kind of came out of the market, specifically for the recreation arcade side. Then Arcade 1-Up, of course, tried to make a comeback, and they released their deluxe line. So one of the smart things they did with their deluxe line, they said, we're coming out with these 3, specific cabs. We're coming out with Class of 81, Pac-Man, and Mortal Kombat. And we're going to try to stick to the $4.99 price point. Now, $4.99 wasn't as good, of course, as the original $3.99 price point, but we felt that it was a step back in the right direction. You don't expect to see prices kind of come back down, but that's what they were doing. So prices jumped back down to $4.99, and things seem to be going kind of in a good way. Arcade One Up have realized that there isn't that interest, especially in high volume, for what they sell at a high price point, and have kind of leveled off. Now, this didn't stick all the time. They still did some really mind-jarring things, like try to sell the Time Crisis at $750 US, which, immediately they absolutely shot themselves in the foot on that one. But outside of that, they tried to stick with, a $4.99 price point. NBA Jam 4-player coming out at $5.99, I felt was a bit much. Fast and the Furious, $5.99. It was somewhat reasonable, but it seemed like they learned a lesson from what had happened. So anyways, from there, they came up with a good model. Other arcades started coming out with stuff. We seemed to be in a pretty good place. And then, what the real complaint was at that point, we had got back to a point where all of a sudden the supply started to dry up. People in the home arcade community started getting thirsty again for new releases. And then all of a sudden we were like, where are you, Arcade One Up? Why aren't you doing anything? They're obviously rebuilding because the retailers are still gun shy about taking on new product. I apologize, guys. My throat is really messed up tonight. Yes. If a Gen 1 style cab came out right now with a light up marquee and coin door for a Cubert, Robotron, Moon Patrol, or Spy Hunter, 3 to 4 games each for like $3.99, 100%. Glenn, I've had to pay some bills, Glenn. I had to pay some bills. $20 is $20. So, anyways, these cabs were coming out for $4.99. We were starting to look for more. We had heard rumors about New Wave Toys possibly doing cabs. We had heard rumors about other companies, and we were interested again. And all these companies said they were going to be coming out with some products. And, we had Basic Fun kind of announced their line. They came in with a price point around $4.99 for their Ultra cabs, $5.99 for their Supreme cabs, which, even though higher, we felt mostly was reasonable, considering the XL cabs at Arcade One Up were selling at Costco before were around $5.99. The deluxe cabs are $4.99. That felt realistic. Iconic Arcade launched. Of course, they're selling an XL cab, and they were doing the pre-order for $5.99 US, which again felt reasonable. It felt on scale with what Arcade One Up was doing for the XL line at Costco. So that felt pretty good. AtGames, of course, came out with the AtGames Legends Pinball 4KP. The initial pre-order, money. I think it came out originally for $10.99. A lot of lucky people jumped in at that point, but unfortunately, during this period, this is where inflation started to kick in. So we had some sales where you could buy these things for like $12.99, $12.49, $13.99. Then all of a sudden, it became too expensive for AtGames to actually sell the AtGames Legends Pinball at a cheaper price. So they looked at options, and it's fascinating. They came out with the AtGames affordable financing. Think about if Arcade One Up or one of these other companies came out with their own financing plan. You'd be like, the hell? That doesn't make any sense. But AtGames were trying to think outside the box because they knew they had a really good product. They just knew that it was a little expensive, and not everybody was going to have $1,600 plus tax sitting around in their bank account in order to buy one of these machines. Maybe people can finance it, so they tried it that way. Now, I don't know if that was successful, unsuccessful, what that led to, but we know where AtGames are now. AtGames are now considering doing a downgraded version of the 4KP, which is an advanced AtGames Legends Pinball HD that also plays Zen games, and we're hoping that has a more reasonable price. But considering the last time the HD was on sale, I think the HD Pinball was selling around $8.99, $9.99. I don't know how much cheaper they're going to be able to go, but you have to take that into consideration that obviously the two main companies that we've been following for the last couple of years, they have seen the writing on the wall. They have seen the resistance to high prices, and they have kind of taken a step back. Obviously, AtGames, this is their answer, this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cab, and Arcade One Up kind of sticking with the lower price cabs. Now, unfortunately, both of these companies kind of silent now product-wise. Like, we have no idea when AtGames is going to officially announce the AtGames Legends Pinball HD CE or whatever it's called, the one with the Zen Studios games. And Arcade One Up have been putting stuff out, but nothing new. Games they've already released before, although it was pretty cool to see Terminator 2 come back in a deluxe form factor. No one really expected that. Oh, Video Game Vegas is not a fan of the 4KP, apparently. I understand, man. This is not a channel where I'm going to disagree with you. Opinions are exactly that. There's no right or wrong. They're just your opinions. So feel free to get it out there, man. I think what a lot of people confuse, because, and I'll be very clear about this so it doesn't get taken the wrong way. I think the AtGames Legends Pinball 4K is a good product. I love the size. I love the height. I love the feel. I love the screen. I love the SSF kit, the solenoids. Once they fix the issue with the Zen games, especially, even though they're not 4K, but they started playing really good, I think that's an awesome machine. The problem with AtGames is, of course, the firmware updates and the support. That's where they really fail. The constant reliability issues where something gets broken during a firmware update, or it's you're locked out of your account, something along those lines. I completely understand that. I would be frustrated too. Everybody should be frustrated. Yeah, everybody's entitled to a different opinion. Never call anybody off on that. You can even have your opinions about me. You're entitled to them. I do not care. You have your opinion. So there it is. Right now, GRS and GI Joe seem like the best options. The only thing Iconic has going for it is the potential for online fighting, and that may not end up being a thing. Yeah, with Iconic, which we will talk about a little later tonight, even if I don't hit the super chat goal. You guys know I'm going to do this anyways. So the whole idea behind this is just to do a fun thing and make it fun. So, hey, Gamer Fridge, what's happening, brother? Love my 4KP, but they got to quit ducking with the software. Someone please give them a floppy to make a master backup, for Christ's sake. I agree. Morris McCorkle in the house. Maurice in the house. Very, very nice to see you. I am very humbled by all the support and how well the Kickstarter did. You should be, Glenn, and you should take all that positivity and get to work on making a Viper that connects directly to my X-Arcade 2 TV XR and then tell me about it and not leave me on hold for 2 hours. But anyways, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So I talked about this in the last couple of weeks, and I kind of really want to bring it up now. Is we're now reaching a 2-tier system when it comes to home arcades. And this is where I'm going to talk about Glenn's and a couple others. Before I get into a little bit of complaining about Canada and why I'm a little miffed about the prices here, which is kind of out of the company's control, but not really. So I've talked about this system of a 2-tier system. So AtGames is a really good example of that with the 4KP. So obviously home arcade, 19K Fox has talked about this a lot. I've talked about this a lot. I think there's a magic number, a magic spot where companies can try to offer these home arcade products. And regardless of the options, the features, all that jazz, if you're within that 400 to 600 price range, you might have an opportunity to sell to the home arcade market. It's when you start creaking out of that magic number, you start to have problems. Really, for me, I think that magic number is more 300 to 500. So if you're going to offer a home arcade product that you want to sell in mass quantities, that's your number, that's your target right there. Hey, Stock Jock, $5. Let's get this started back up. We need sloppy seconds. Oh, wait, wrong show. I already told you what the new name is, Stock Jock. Thank you for the super chat, but I feel like I have to remind people again. That video was the most work I've done on YouTube in about 6 years. There was so much effort there. It was some actual animation by me. Crazy stuff. Thank you very much for the super chat, Stock Jock. You're the man. I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. And like I said, even if we don't get the super chat goal, I'm going to tell you guys anyways at the end, it's what we do. Also, I wanted to mention to people, and this is not a thing to kind of entice somebody to do this, but I've been very fortunate. People like B Kirby, a lot of other people have been really kind and throwing out like gift memberships, and people have joined my membership for my channel. And I apologize. I've been a real shitheel. I haven't done anything with it. So I've kind of been thinking and brainstorming about some things I wanted to do. And for a while here on my Monday night show, I did this thing where I did like an homage to one of my other favorite shows on YouTube I watch every Tuesday night, that gaming show with Rascal and Shotgun Sean. They do this once a month community show. And I think it's a really fun idea. So I started doing it as well. But I think it's a better idea, instead of just doing a general community show, opening myself up where anybody can join and maybe, you know, shit starting. I think what I'm going to do is from now on Sunday nights, every Sunday night after 19K Fox, I'm going to hold a members only community show. So it's an opportunity for me to hang out with my members. We'll get to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and whoever wants to join the stream can join. So look forward to that. I think it's 10:30 my time, so 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday nights. I know it's a horrible time to announce it during football season, but I thought that'd be something fun to do. And I'm also going to set up some gaming streams pretty soon. We can play stuff like, either I'll play like a random arcade game, or we can play games together, kind of like, Mario Kart, something along those lines. So keep me honest on that one. Keep me to it, guys. So anyways, thanks again, Stock Jock. I really appreciate it. Let me just go up and take this off the chat. Thank you very much. Someone justify the iconic $6.99 price tag. Well, I mean, Iconic's price tag was actually $5.99 US for the pre-order. The $6.99 is what they told us the regular retail price would be. So I don't know if you can justify it. Like, I don't think there's any justifying it. I'll be 100% honest. I can't justify Arcade 1-Up's prices. Even at $500, I mean, I can't justify home arcade prices. Like, there's a million other things you could probably buy with your money, but it's about want, not necessarily need, right? So if you want it, you want it. But getting back to what I was talking about, we were talking about that 2-tier price point, and AtGames really started this off in this community, specifically when they introduced the AtGames Legends Pinball 4K. Of course, this was the premium model of what they were doing, and they jumped that price point up all the way to $15.99, and that's what we're seeing now. And do I think it's a good product, bad product? I have already answered that. Do I think it's a good price, bad price? I don't really know, but from what I've been able to tell, check Messenger. James says $2. I appreciate it, James. I've been trying to keep my Messenger down, so I stopped doxing myself and my friends. But I will check Messenger all the same. Of course, it's trying to get me to get into my chat history. Ooh, James, you are a badass. You are an absolute badass. B Kirby coming in hot. Gifted 20 MichaelBtheGameGenie memberships. I just talked about him doing this. I wasn't trying to get you to do this, But thank you very much, B Kirby. So anyways, really quickly, I've got some breaking news thanks to James, and I'm sure other people will cover it as well. But really quickly, I did want to take a break from the pricing conversation, but after I talked about this for a minute. So obviously, AtGames started it. Arguably, maybe iArcade started it with the gold. We can talk about that. That was a little bit higher. But now we're seeing the other end of that, where we got products like the Nova Blast, which came out at $1,200 US. And then, of course, Glenn's cabinet, which, for the early bird pricing was $9.99, coming in at $10.99 for the GRS Build-A-Cade FU. It's outside that price range. But, of course, both those products are offering a more robust offering than what we're used to from home arcade. So it's a little bit of prestige pricing going on for those products. Now, I think that's a good idea. Arcade 1-Up did it as well with the Pro Series, but the difference between what Glenn did and maybe even Unico to some point, even though they kind of stumbled out of the gate with some shipping issues, they're also backing up that prestige price with quality. We know Glenn's products are going to have quality built parts. We know they're going to have great controls. We know that this is coming from a person without a ton of overhead, without a ton of licensing fees in there. We are paying for what we're receiving. And not everybody can do this as a charity, kind of like Glenn does. He's crazy, and he should 100% charge more for what he's doing. But at the same time, you're getting a good quality product. Hey, Biggie D, what's happening, brother? Anyways, a little bit of breaking news. James, thank you very much for sharing this. Last week on Super Game Room Dudes and all last week, everybody gave me shit, kind of gave James shit and said he was a bit of a, what's the term? Clickbaiter, because he talked about this new Pac-Man Neon cab that was coming out. Well, it looks like not only is the Pac-Man Neon cab announced, James was pretty right about it. Take a look. It's officially out now. The Arcade 1-Up Pac-Man Deluxe at-home arcade machine Neon Edition. And like James identified, it was going to have this art on the side. There's the front coin door, a little bit of art going across. Instead of the fully slanted screen with the more, I don't know what you call it, accurate Pac-Man shape, they've gone back to kind of, I think this is very similar to the Pac-Man Plus Arcade 1-Up. That's what I would guess. And then you've got this neon look to it. So yeah, there it is. This is $6.99 US. I can't believe this. There's no way this is $6.99 US. Anyways, here's some details. Here's the second picture. This is the games list. So same games list we get from every Pac-Man cab. There's the actual, definition of everything that's here. 17-inch BOE monitor, real feel joysticks. So you get that real feel of having really crappy arcade joysticks. Exclusive cabinet underglow. So we were right about that. It basically just has the underglow. That's the only real neon other than the design itself. There's the side image, which even though it's not arcade accurate, I mean, this was the 40th anniversary art. It does look pretty cool, but not something I'd be interested in. And there's the box itself advertising the Arcade 1-Up Deluxe Pac-Man machine, and I can't believe this is $6.99. We're here talking about Arcade 1-Up doing like stupid things with pricing. There's no way this is $6.99. You got to get something extra with this, like a hand job or something. Like there's no way that this should be $6.99. This is a $5.99 cab all day long. The $4.99 cab all day long. I mean, this should be the same price as the other deluxe cabs, but yeah, this has got to be a mistake. It's slim. Just restocked the Pac-Man Plus. This is Pac-Man Plus. I can see why they called it the Pac-Man Plus Neon, because if I had to wager a guess, I would imagine these are the same dimensions as the Pac-Man Plus. $6.99 Canadian. Oh, thank God, James. Thank God. So this is Amazon.ca. Yeah, there you go. And I doxed myself again. So there you go. Okay, so $6.99 Canadian is $4.99 US. Whoo! So there's our first look at the Pac-Man Neon Edition. And yeah, I mean, if you're a big Pac-Man fan and you want something different to celebrate the anniversary, maybe that's your cup of tea. For me, I mean, Obviously, I have a Pac-Man Arcade 1-Up XL. This is not something I'm going to be interested in any capacity. Thanks again, James, for sharing this. So, little bit of breaking news here tonight. Pac-Man Arcade 1-Up, Pac-Man Neon is available for purchase in Canada. There you go. Bobby likes it. He likes the screen angle of this machine. Definitely worth $4.99. It's not my cup of tea, but there you go. Might be tempting if it was an XL. Like, you guys know me, I want arcade recreations. This kind of does nothing for me. So there you go. Right, Fred, I ended up having to sell a bunch of mine a while ago. So it was kind of a shitty time. Like, just me and my wife got caught up with finances. We needed extra room in the house and stuff like that. So I ended up selling everything except for my XLs, because the plan was I'm going to sell all my stuff and I'm just going to go XL going forward. Then, of course, Arcade 1-Up stopped doing XL cabs, right? So I ended up getting most of the ones back I wanted, or I upgraded to deluxe from the ones I sold. So I've got like a Terminator 2 original cab that I got on sale for $4.99 Canadian. Very happy, not the deluxe. I got the original. I got a Street Fighter deluxe, Mortal Kombat 2 deluxe. Managed to find a Dragon's Lair on sale, $5.99 Canadian, before they were discontinued at the Brick. I managed to get a secondhand Tron back, so I'm very happy with that. Plus, I still have 3 of my 4XLs. I sold Golden Tee because I didn't like it. I didn't want it anymore. And there is no Arcade 1-Up XL collection. That's long since dead and a dream gone. So screw it. But I did keep everything I really like. I like NBA Jam. For the people that say I don't play, I played yesterday and I had the worst game ever. I was up by 4 points with like 33 seconds left, and I lost by 4 points. Explain how in 33 seconds the computer scored 8 points. I can't for the life of me figure it out, but it happened. Holy shit, I was irritated. So anyways, guys, that's the news there. I'm going to take that down before I dox myself again. Really quickly, I'm going to finish up the pricing discussion. I know it's super long-winded, but I am getting to a point here somewhere. I promise. So I did want to talk about current pricing, and I talked about in Canada, we always had to pay a little bit more. Really quickly, I want to show you where I'm to with Arcade 1-Up. So I want to go to Walmart, make sure I am going to log out of my account so I don't show my address again, so nobody gets mad at me for doxing myself, because that does happen. So let me just bring this up on screen and talk about the prices now. So obviously, you guys know what the prices of these cabs are in the US. So normally a $5.99 cab would come in somewhere around $700 Canadian. $4.99 cab somehow comes in at $6.99 now, and and $6.99. And then a $5.99 cab comes in all the way at $8.49. Now, it's no different with T2. That was the original price I paid for T2. But take a look at this shit, man. $5.99 for Fast and the Furious for you guys in the US, $8.49 here in Canada. Now, this is the problem that I have, and it's not the company's problems, and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here because I've been bitching and moaning, asking them to send their product to Canada. I was upset because products like the Claw Machine, like Fast and the Furious, like the other new cabs here, NBA Jam Deluxe, Golden Tee Deluxe, these cabs weren't making their way to Canada. Now look at this bullshit. Time Crisis on sale for $1,191. I would love to take a waiver on the Time Crisis cab, just try it out, but there's no way I'm going to pay that much. Holy shit. Those are way fair prices. So this is the problem I have. At the same time, I'm super happy they're here. There's even cheaper options. You can save another $50, get them through Costco, but you're at a point where it's dangerous. Like, if you talk to the retailers here, and I'm sure that's one of the other reasons they didn't come to Canada, the retailers were a little gun shy too. When the Arcade 1-Ups got up to that price point, over $800 and $899, like the XL cabs were, they had problems selling them. So I'll be interested to see how well these cabs do here in Canada with these new price points. Street Fighter Deluxe, $889 with 51 left. There you go. I know, that's what I get. Cheap health insurance and expensive arcades. So the other thing I wanted to go with this is now, we've got Glenn's Cab out there, and you've got Unico with their previous Nova Blast offering this all metal cab. Unico's now talking about making recreation cabs that are going to be full size with a 26-inch screen. They're also going to be around $1,200. I'm wondering, how likely is it that people are going to pay that much for a recreation of that side? It's definitely past the home arcade easy concept purchase idea and goes into something else. This is less of a impulse purchase and more of a planned purchase. So the YouTuber Shillathon, you know it. Hey man, the YouTuber Shillathon, everybody benefited from that. All we had to do was be there. We were offering like ridiculous prices for these cabs to the community. We thought it was a good thing. I can't help it if everybody else thought it was a shitty thing. X Arcade Withstand is only $299 at Micro Center now. Yeah, get that. Even if you're not going to get into pinball VR and stuff like that, this is an amazing, amazing control panel to set up to like a TV or whatever you want to set it up to. And if Glenn can ever get his Viper with X Arcade attachment going, bam, amazing home arcade product right there. See, MG, not everybody thought it was a Shillathon. Most people love the Red Cross event because there were a bunch of cabs sold for cheap. We all had fun. John D refused to kiss that woman. What's the problem, man? Could be that quality, could be quantity. Yeah, that's possible. 100%. I got a bunch of cabs in the Red Cross thing. Bobby Vu got like 400 outruns that were under the ocean. We couldn't get anything here in Canada. I was pissed. I really wanted that Defender Partycade. Damn it. See, Novasonic remembers. Sorry, COVID. No COVID. Jason remembers as well. Quality beats quantity, and I think that's 100% right. See Marble 360. When it comes to that higher price point, if you're able to offer that quality, people are going to be okay with that price. But I did want to get back into it because we're hitting an interesting time right now where, I mean, obviously Arcade 1-Up, like I talked about in my video. Jesus, Mike, have a smoke and clear your throat. I know. So I know, like what I just talked about was, Arcade 1-Up have learned their lesson because they're trying to sell these things for as cheap as they possibly can. There's obviously some concessions. We see that with the Walmart peasant cabs. They got that horrible 16:9 screen. And now we're seeing it with the deluxe cabs. They're trying to keep it at that $499 price point. But unfortunately, I don't know if it's a trade-off or just a stupid business idea. I'll never be over that. They're making them slimcades, but at least they're trying to stick at a price point that makes sense. AtGames, like I mentioned earlier, they're trying to come out with the cheaper version of the ALP that you can also play Zen games on. That's probably the right decision as well. But then you got new companies coming in like Basic Fun and also Iconic Arcade, which we're going to talk about at Iconic in a minute. Now, Iconic Arcade, originally $599 price point, $999 price point here in Canada for the pre-orders, but they are talking about when the pre-orders open back up. They're not sure if they can guarantee the same pre-order price. We know the retail's already going to be $699. Obviously, a lot of things changed because of things, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also because of changes with tariffs and other things like that. For anybody who says the tariff thing's not impacting anything, you're not paying attention. So we don't know what the price is going to be, but the whole point of this conversation is you really have to take a look at the market before you. I know you're marketing cabs that are extreme and supreme, and you may have to modify things because of the tariffs, because of what you're doing. But keep in mind, if you're offering a product that is similar in quality to what Arcade 1-Up is doing or AtGames is doing, there's a market for that that's very specific. There's a demand for that that's very specific. And if you put your price up too high, it's going to be above the demand level and people aren't going to buy it. That's just my warning to those companies. As much as you feel like you can get maybe $8.99 US for an iconic arcade because you're going to have all these extra things, or, you know, Basic Fun had to reshift some things because of the pandemic, or not pandemic, because of the tariffs. We haven't got any information on them, but if they can stick to their $4.99 and $5.99 price points, I think they'll be good. But Iconic's the one to watch. Hopefully they can still get their cabs out at their original suggested prices, because I think if they don't, they're going to run up against problems going out. I know they're selling themselves as a direct-to-consumer product. I don't think that's the end goal, and we'll see how that goes. GRS FU is the only one that's worth it right now, 100%. If you want a multicade, 100%. But I'm going to have this conversation till I die. A multicade is amazing. What Glenn's making is amazing, but not everybody wants that. Some people want to build out their arcade, have a bunch of different arcades, have like a space in their house that feels like an old school arcade when they go down there. The GRS Build-A-Cade FU can have art put on it, can have the Glintendo hood, so it can become something else. However, keep in mind, it's already a $1,200 product. Well, most people are getting it for $9.99, but it's going to be after the early bird special. And if it ever comes out again, it's probably going to be $1,100 plus tax, plus a hefty shipping amount to get that Build-A-Cade to your house. Then you're going to have to buy the hood. You're going to have to buy artwork. So there's a lot of other expenses to go with it. The other option is G.I. Joe, which I think is an amazing product as well. But of course, again, that comes with the modding stuff. Like you saw in James' video earlier today, you're going to have to put your own brain in the cab, and you're going to have to buy some additional artwork. It's amazing. It's awesome for the people who want to do that, but not everybody does. Some people just want a ready-made product, and those products won't meet those people. That's where these other recreation companies come in, so we don't have to get our hands dirty, and we can just get the arcades we wanted. I can't actually get one, Daniel Grayson. Unfortunately, he's not shipping to Canada, so yeah, I know about that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So I did have a super chat goal up there. Obviously, I'm fucking with people and I'm doing the double down and stuff like that. We did not hit our super chat goal, but you know what? Obviously, I'm going to do the segment anyways. So if you didn't see it, my super chat goal, double down, was in fact, oh, I just got to find the asset again. Should you be worried about iconic arcade pre-orders? And I want to have an honest discussion about this topic, because this is something that people keep saying over and over again. And I'm going to be very clear about this. If I was somebody who ordered an iconic arcade, Street Fighter XXL, back in January, with everything that's gone on, from this being a fan-centric company that disappeared for so long, whether it be their fault or, you know, outside factors like this rumored cease and desist that's probably very much real, it's got to be disappointing. And especially with the constant delays. Like, I don't like, and I'll go back to the fucking Burger Time situation. If you pre-order something, you don't want delays. You don't want a company to go silent. You want to get your products. So if I was an iconic arcade pre-order holder, I'd be pretty pissed off. That is 100% fair. But you've also got to keep in mind that Iconic isn't the only company out there that have taken your money for products and you're still waiting on them. Like, that's the amazing thing about this. People are focused on Iconic, obviously, because of who's involved. The fact that John D's involved, obviously, a lot of people in the community do not like John D. He does some shitty things sometimes, and I understand why you would not like him. I don't have the same problems everybody else does with John. I think he's quirky and he does some weird shit, but I don't dislike him. Some people really dislike him and want to see anything he's attached to fail. So there's a lot of people out there right now that are really fixating on John D stole your money. He's on a beach. And obviously that's why I did this media piece right here, this thumbnail. Should you be worried? It's a complete joke. I've talked about this a bunch of times. Should you be mad? Yes. Should you be worried? It's Lenovo, guys. Like, your pre-order is not with John D out of his garage. This is not some fly-by-night promotion. This is obviously Lenovo. This is a product. They've already come out with a product, the Iconic Arcade here in Canada. They're looking to break into this market. Should you be concerned? No, I don't think you should be concerned. I think the product's going to come out. The other thing that people are trying to tie this to, mainly grifting for views, is they're trying to compare this to the Amico. I mean, you guys all remember that absolute horrible situation. Tommy Tallarico, I never paid attention really to it. It wasn't something that I was interested in. I can't remember the whole story, but he was going to come out with the Intellivision Amico, and a lot of people had a lot of big success and joined a community from the Intellivision Amico stuff. So there's some people trying to turn Iconic Arcade into that for some reason. These same people tried to do it with Arcade 1-Up back in the day, when guess who was still employed there? That's right, John D, because it's a personal vendetta. So I'll be really clear about that. Probably not everybody's going to agree with me, but there you go. But here's the funny thing. Everybody's focusing on Iconic Arcade, but like I talked about earlier, that's not the only companies in the home arcade scene that have taken your money, that have not delivered. I love New Wave Toys. I love Quarter Arcades, but I mean, Quarter Arcades didn't do the pre-order. I will take that back. I will focus mainly on New Wave Toys. How many people out there right now have 1 to 5 pre-orders with New Wave Toys that you haven't seen, that have been going on for like a year now? Put a 1 in the chat if you have a pre-order with New Wave Toys right now that they've taken your money on and it's been delayed. Nothing on Basic Fun, Sam, man. Nothing. Exactly. So the question is, I see these videos, I see these comments. Iconic took your money. Where's all the videos about New Wave Toys taking your money? And I'll even be more specific. And I'm not going to say any names there. But of course, there's also, third-party vendors that make different things like artwork, make cabinets themselves. We very well know there's a bunch of these third-party vendors out there in the community that not only have taken people's money, but also have no time frame on when people are going to get their products and refuse to answer customer questions. Where are the videos on those? They don't exist. It's a bit of a hypocritical thing that I find really funny. Like, I'm not defending Iconic Arcade. I don't have any stake in the game. On my children's life, you can shut down my YouTube channel. I'm not involved with Iconic Arcade in any capacity. Do I talk to John D on Facebook every now and then? Not so often anymore. I'm a YouTuber. He'll want information to go out to help his company. He'll reach out to me and send me information from time to time. Does that mean I'm complicit with Iconic Arcade? No. It's the same as any other company sending out information. Maybe the format is different. It's not an email from a company. It was a Facebook message. But I do not have regular, continuous conversations. Nothing. So that's the funny thing. That's the consistent thing. Everybody makes up these conspiracies, ideas, blah, blah, blah. But if you question them on something else, another example, they're like, well, I don't have any problem with them. I don't have any question about that. There's more than one company that have pre-orders out there right now that people don't have answers on, that don't have information from. Now, do I think that the people that order from New Wave Toys are going to get screwed? Absolutely not. And New Wave Toys have a history of delivering on their products. Lenovo have a history of delivering on their products. I can't speak for the third-party vendors, but I'm sure those products will eventually come out either. But if you're going to do this and you're really going to be a community watchdog, you can't just pick and choose your battles. You have to treat everybody equally, treat everybody with the same lens. So that's just my opinion on that. Now, I do want to talk about the actual release date. So they updated till Q4. A lot of people are saying now, I would be surprised these came out in Q4. And that's one area where I completely agree with the people that are coming out and saying Iconic Arcade's not going to meet that deadline. It's common sense. I mean, they just finalized the art. They were screwed up because of whatever cease and desist they were. It's going to be a miracle that if they can get the artwork finalized, get these cabs done, get the UI actualized, get online up and running, because you need that right out of the gate. You can't release your cabs without your online. It's going to be an absolute miracle. These cabs make it to people's homes within 2025. I don't think they'll be here by Christmas. 100% valid statement people are making there. But in terms of people saying that your money was stolen, you'll never get it back, literally, you can go to VMI, you can go to Spreetail and get your money back today. Anybody can cancel. What these people are trying to do, some people, is they actually have a personal vendetta against someone that was involved in the project and are doing everything they can, get ready for this, to influence you to go against that product, to influence you to cancel the product, to influence you to cancel your order and hope that the company goes under because they're influencers just doing it in a different way. Yes, MG, I'm about to lose my voice. So I will just really quickly tell you about my belly button. Despite what Goofyfoot thinks, I do in fact have an innie. Despite the massive stomach I have because I am a very fat individual, it somehow is still an innie. There you go. Told you, Goofyfoot, it's an innie. Yeah, I would be, James, I would be shocked. Absolutely shocked if it made it here in October. Will it eventually come out? Yes. Do I have any faith that it's going to come out within Q4? No. Expect a situation very similar to what's going on with the Analog 3D. It'll be delayed again. That's my guess. I'm sorry this ruins anybody's Christmas or something like that. And I'll go back to my initial statement. Should you be upset? Absolutely. Absolutely, you should be upset. Nobody should be happy about having a pre-order that you did in January, that here we are in September and possibly all the way to the end of the year, you're not going to get. That fucking sucks. If I was you, I would be unhappy. But does that mean the product's never going to come out? No. So technically, since we're in the after show, they tried to make it happen. After John left Arcade 1-Up, he did reach out to AtGames. And I don't know if he talked about this in the shows he did or the lives he did, but what they're doing with Iconic Arcade was his concept and idea he had. And he brought it to AtGames, and AtGames weren't interested. They were more focused on pinball. There you go. There's a chance, Paul. I think there's absolutely a chance. But seeing as what we see from Iconic Arcade, the delay, the change in the artwork, it's also reasonable to assume that it's a slight chance it'll still be here by Q4. It's reasonable to assume it'll probably be later either. I love the fact that you're here, that he's trying to deliver the titles that we want, because we thought about this on James's show last week. And we talked about that, and I gave John a hard time. That's the other thing that amazes me. You're in with John D. I've been shitting on him all week. But yeah, so Paul, I don't know if anybody's had a chance, but Paul was kind enough, after me and James did our show last week, to actually try to run that poll again and do it more broke down into different segments for you to vote for, because we all kind of argued that we were kind of using confirmation bias, putting things in the categories we wanted, and you really needed more categories. So I'm going to see if I can see this, Paul. I'm glad you showed up, because I did want to share this, and I realized, guys, I apologize, I'm going a little bit late. Might be Paul, might be somebody else. I thought it was Paul. Let me see if I can find this really quick. So I'm just going to bring this up on screen here now. So you'll remember this whole errors conversation we had last week. So we actually put it out there, and Neo Geo 64 put it out there, cross posted against a bunch of Facebook groups to try to get some data polls. So we broke it down in more specific categories with shorter time periods. So the time periods were 1978 to 1983, 1984 to 1987, 1988 to 1992, 1993 to 1997, 1998 to 2001, 2002 onward. And very similar to kind of the polls we had done where we made the groups too large, and different than the poll that Paul had done at the time. You'll see the 90s actually came in very low. The top category came in at 41% of the vote at 1978 to 1983. Then coming in second was 1988 to 1992. And then coming in third, believe it or not, was what was classified as the decline period for home arcade, 84 to 87, coming in at 17%. Then that later 90s period, I would actually go more like 94 to 99 is what I had it. But 93 to 97 then came in at 11%. 98 to 2001 came in at 6%. So if John is looking to give the people in the community the cabs that they want, it's pretty clear that John should focus on 1978 to 1983, 1988 to 1992, and 1984 to 1987. As I have been saying for fucking 4 years, hey, remember the 80s. Anyways, last era talk. I appreciate Neo Hyper 64 for running that poll. I like the debate back and forth and stuff like that. And I will say the same thing I said on John's statement. I think that John wants to do what the community wants, but John has specific cabs in mind that he would like to do. I think that's totally fine. I think they're going to be super successful. Like, honestly, even though we voted that way, literally try to tell me in the chat, if John put out a Star Wars trilogy, Sega Star Wars trilogy tomorrow, who here is going to say no? Now, not me. I don't want it because that's not my cup of tea. But I think it would be a super successful cab. So even though I'm messing around with this shit, I still don't think that means that people don't want the cabs that John's talking about. And I think that Iconic Arcade, if they can get those licenses, will be super successful. So anyways, guys, I would keep you here literally all night. I don't know why. I'm just having fun tonight. B. Kirby knows it exactly. Focus a little more on the 80s. Agreed. Thank you very much for the super chat, B. Kirby. You don't want to know what MG fills his belly button with. I'll tell you that right now. You do not need to know. All right, guys. Hold on. Yeah, Paul, that's the funny thing about this, but you're never going to get that data set for the community that we want to get. None of these polls do that well. Anybody who's done a stats course in high school or especially university know, I forget the term right now off the top of my head, but it's a representative number. That's not exactly the term, but it's a representative sample. Sorry. None of these are actually representative samples. It represents a small amount of the community, 145 votes out of what would be 3,000 cabs. Is that a representative sample? I don't know. But anyways, like none of this stuff really matters. It's just funny when you go back and forth. So like I said, again, if Iconic was to do a Star Wars trilogy, I think it would be an awesome cab and it would sell tons and people would be very happy with it, despite it not being in that golden 80s age. But I do think, even though there's only 145 votes here, there's definitely a demand for 80s cabs that should not be ignored. Yeah, the term is representative sample. It's not a representative sample. Statistical significant. It's not a representative sample. So anyways, guys, thank you very much for hanging out with me and listening to my bitch session tonight. You heard about me complain about prices, where prices have gone, and the dangers for the home arcade companies. If they try to increase their prices, it just might be out of that demand range for what people are dealing with right now due to their economic standpoint, whether or not they can buy these cabs. That was fun. Then, of course, James, Rockstar, showed us the link for the Amazon.ca page where we saw the Pac-Man Neon and found out it was what it was. It's not for me, but there you go. Dear God, Sandman 1, I read anything over $100 from China will be canceled. I have not heard that yet at all, but thank you very much for the super chat. I'm going to have to look into that. I've also heard DMAC runs PR for My Arcade and also runs PR maybe for Basic Fun. So I got to try to hit him up at some point to get some Basic Fun information. It's killing me. Tell us something, Basic Fun. Yeah, it might be Basic Done. That's probably one of the big cabs I want. Exactly. See, Marvel, 100%. I've been saying this. I've been fighting this. That partycade they made for Defender, like, I came up with the name Catalina Wine Mixer for it, but it really was a special piece of tech. The fact that we've never had a proper Defender cab with a proper button layout blows my mind. I 100% think that is a must-have arcade. People would flock to it. I can't wait. Hopefully it happens. I would love to. I think with his new arcade PR company, he'd be hard pressed. He would still need approval from the company, but I'm sure as hell going to try. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. We almost went an hour and 30 minutes. We didn't hit our super chat goal, but you guys are going to get it anyways. You know the way I am. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your Monday night. 2 more weeks and I'll be done smoking, and hopefully this voice will no longer be an issue. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for talking home arcade. And dear God, somebody release something soon. Anyways, guys, this is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I will talk to you next time. Good night, everybody.